Hello, beautiful souls. This is Leah. Ready or not, it's January of 2025. I'm recording this just as we've moved into the new year, and this episode will drop the second Monday in January, which is 13th. I anticipate that by the time you listen to this, you'll be ensconced in all things 2025. You will have gotten back into the work vibe and out of the holiday busyness and all that entailed. I hope your holidays were amazing, that you had time to yourself to catch your breath, to enjoy some deep breaths, and to be really present for yourself, your family, and your friends. My holidays were fabulous. My daughter was home and we host Christmas Day like we always do, and just lots of good family time. New Year's week, a little bit more of the same, and I'm really glad to be back into the routine and getting things done, as I'm sure you are as well. So, my incoming angel messages over the last few weeks have been all about the new year, not surprising, the new energy, and our new opportunities. Unlike the typical narrative that's out there, they remind us that it is not about the new year, new you hype that we hear so much about all around us. It's really about new year, all year, and the real you, and how we connect with that authentic, deepest, truest part of ourselves. Within that deepest, truest version of ourselves, that's where we find our unique gifts and treasures and talents. Those are genuinely and specifically just ours. That's where the real magic is. They remind us that here on earth, specifically at this moment, it is time to bring forward the truest versions of ourselves. I think so much of us and so many of us get over focused and hyper fixated on the changes that we need to make in ourselves and in our lives. And a lot of that is in order to meet the societal norms, quote, norms and expectations, and those visions and versions of ourselves that are expected by others that are in our lives. We really, really need to focus on and look at our truest selves and the true nature of who we are in our authentic self. So it's not about creating someone new or living up to what others think or what society tells us we should be. Especially as women, we need to forget all of the societal noise and all of the expectations of what it looks like to be a woman in our 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever age category we find ourselves in. It is truly about shedding the narrative of the shoulds along with shedding the weight of other people's expectations. I know that sounds really simple in theory, doesn't it? And don't we all know that it is oh so difficult and challenging in real life? So you might have noticed I have a lot of feelings about this new year, new you business. I have a lot of mixed feelings about it. And at the same time, I love any opportunity that I have personally or to guide clients in reflection, observation, and to ensure alignment with our personal missions and intentions, and that they are supported by our daily actions. Because we can have all these visions and missions and purpose and intentions, and if we don't have or take the actions to support them, they're really not ever going to happen. One of my intentions for the new year is to continue to positively support and impact women and do that in a bigger and broader way, supporting more and more of you. I want to be of service. I want to use my gifts to support you in connecting with your deepest and truest selves to help you lean into living a life that you absolutely love. So I am more of a use your birthday or a non-traditional calendar, like a Lunar New Year calendar kind of a person. I that's a subject for another podcast, but we will cover that at some point in time. And at the same time, I also really like to start things together. I like for us to have a group community connection when we're working on things like this because there's power there. So that's why I am leaning into this new year, real you kind of mode. So, with my personal mission of empowering women, girls throughout the world, it is really important for me to look at the uniqueness within us as opposed to the externally driven versions of ourselves. It is, as women, we have many roles in the world. Some of us are moms, some of us are business owners, some of us are department leaders, some of us are individual contributors, some of us are independent consultants. Many of us do work outside of the home. Some of us work as an at-home parent. There are just so many ways and opportunities to show up in the world, and that is such a blessing. We are all daughters, some of us are sisters, we're all friends, and likely have some family members. And those are some of our points of commonality. I really like to come from that place of commonality because it's so important to base our connections on what we have in common and not where our differences are. There's so much energy around finger pointing and us versus them right now that I really want to lean into where we connect and where our commonalities are. It's really important for us to connect and support each other as women as we grow into, in my words, remember who we truly are as empowered women, as intuitive women, as women that are driven by our aspirations, as well as our own unique gifts and treasures, the way that we show up in the world. For today's episode, I not only wanted to share with you that perspective and give you something to think about when we're thinking about this new year, and encourage you to remember that New Year, New You is an entire industry composed of many businesses that wait for the beginning of the year and the end of the year prior to sell you anything that will help you find the air quotes new you. This business type supports the resolution mindset. Think about weight loss programs, gym memberships, the need that the belief that we need to set resolutions to enact change or to grow in life. Even though 80% of those resolution followers have moved on and left them behind by the end of February, that is really where some people still are. Obviously, the new version of us thing does not resonate with me. I believe that we are highly capable of change. I also believe that change, evolution, growth and expansion are what most of us do as a part of our lives. I also believe there's so much richness and possibility when we focus inward than when we focus on the externals. There are many people that disagree with that, obviously. Billion dollars, $1 billion in industry get to start with. And there are also people that are not interested in going inward in self-reflection. That is important though, and it is life-changing work, this self-exploration. And it's at the center of the excavation process that allows us to dig into the most real versions and truest versions of ourselves. This is an ongoing process, not just an annual one. So just kind of file that away and remember that. So I claim a word for myself every year. I typically do this around my birthday. And one year I had, a moment where I realized that I was disconnected from myself, feeling kind of lost, like I had lost myself, if you will. And I felt like there was a deep dive that was needed to get back to myself, to really understand who I was and what had happened and how to move forward. So my word for the year that I chose was excavation. And wow, what a doozy of a year that was. It was absolutely what I needed, nothing like I expected, and really, really life-changing. I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about what I would and would not tolerate in my life. It led to some life-changing decisions. It also led me to the opportunity to connect with leaders and in what would be a multi-year leadership experience. It was not your typical surface level kind of leadership experience. It was a small group, an intimate group, and it was anything but superficial. We went deeply into ourselves, our lives, our patterns, and looked at what we truly wanted out of life, how we needed to show up to make that happen. The life experience, the experience in this group, in this program, literally changed my life. It is something that I still look back on fondly and I use as the basis for some of the work that I do. And I met one of my dearest friends, who's still one of my dearest friends to this day in that process. I just I guess I'm using that as an example to discuss the importance of going inward, how it is not always easy, it is not always fun, it is often messy, and it is 100% worth it every single time. I've learned that professionally with my clients, I've learned that personally in my life, and I incorporate that as a regular part of my process and my being. So when I work with women, even when I'm working with consulting clients, business consulting clients, it's really all about getting to the heart of things. Pun intended there, because I am a heart-centered leader. I'm a heart-centered individual. And and what I find is at the heart of the matter working with women is what is in our hearts. We know what we're here to do. We know what's in our ancestral lineage to bring forward into this lifetime. And to support this and these, we all have a set of specific, specific and unique gifts and talents. Our challenge is that we don't always remember. And that excavation process and that inward turning process is absolutely necessary to get there and to stay there. You're going to hear me say unique gifts and talents over and over again. I know that all of us have them and that they are ready to be brought to life, especially at this moment in time. So to do anything less than to start looking within or continue looking within and connecting to our deepest, most real selves only leads to a delay in our beautiful gifts and treasures and talents being shared. When I work with clients, we don't look at just one specific area. In order to make this happen, we need to look at our lives and their lives holistically, because we don't typically feel that sense of fulfillment or connection or like we're making an impact from just one area of our lives. Ideally, most, if not all of the areas are somewhat in balance because they are all so connected and they all support each other as we move forward in our best selves, in our true selves out into the world. We have to be connected. It's so nice to get up in the morning and go about your day on purpose with an end in mind, with your intentions for the day, and to end those days, most of them, satisfied. Like you're both making progress and making an impact. When you show up at work with your clients or in your community, how do you want to present yourself? Because that is what you start with and end with in this process. If you're interacting with others from your sense of self, connected to your unique gifts, that comes across in the most authentic and most impactful ways. Though, so that is the work we do in community. When I was thinking about today's topic, after getting the guidance from my angels with the initial headline of New Year Real You, I've also been getting ongoing little tidbits, which I want you to know are woven all through this podcast. So let's talk about how I use the New Year Real You process personally and professionally. It's my way of looking at the new year from a different perspective, one of valuing our strengths rather than focusing on our deficits. For me, it's important to begin the process of anything new by looking at things in 4 steps, which I call the 4 R's: reflect, release, reconnect, and rise. I will use this today to guide the conversation at a very, very high level. If you want to learn more about it deeply, stay tuned till the very end of the podcast, and I'll give you some resources for that. I believe that we cannot move forward and we can't truly know who we are or what we want unless we have some way of reflecting, which includes being self aware. Reflection is a huge component of all the work that I do, like I said before, in my personal and business worlds. It is so important within my professional work and working with clients to look back to see where we've come from, where we've been, and what we want to keep, what we want to do more of, what we want to do less of. If we're looking at things from an annual perspective, which we are for today's conversation, we'd start by reviewing our calendar and our journals or notebooks if we keep them, and looking back beginning with January throughout the year. That gives us an overview of how we spent our literal time. It's really important to keep a calendar, not only to help show us where we're going and where we need to be next, it also gives us a very powerful tool to reflect on when we look back. Next, I like for us to look back at our pictures on our phones, again, beginning in January, because they're such a gift. We have the memories in our mind and in our heart, but be able to pull them up on our phones is really, really like a gift, I think. It can take us back to that moment very quickly, which is so important. So the calendar, like I said, gives us specific ways to look at how we spent our time, how we actually spent our time. And we can remind ourselves of what really moved the needle in our personal lives or our professional lives by how we spent our time. We can connect that back to a client meeting or a project or an organizational community event. And the ways that we are spending our personal time that were fun and joyful, we can really, really see in our pictures. Both of these allow us to remember some challenges that we faced and how we navigated them. Oftentimes, as most of us know, challenges are the times where we learn and grow the most. And it's important to remember that. Our pictures and the review that we do is a way to really feel connected to the people and the places and adventures that filled our life over the prior year. It allows us again to lean into those specific moments and lean into those feelings that were created during those moments. We can feel the joy, we can feel the fun, we can feel the gratitude for all of those opportunities in this moment right now. Reflecting on the prior year is a foundational part of any movement forward, whether it's an annual process or a more frequent process. So, the next step in our 4R process is the release step. So, in reviewing our calendars and looking back at the pictures on our phones, we can look truly with eyes of discernment. And what I mean by that is to look objectively at what served us or filled us up, filled us with joy and connection, and note that what we want to bring more of into our new year. And then look at what did not serve us, what added stress or worry, and then have less of that in our new year. I realize and recognize that not all things that challenged us or caused us worry or stress can be controlled or released. So, for this activity and opportunity, let's focus on what can be controlled. So, for example, we're looking at our time on our calendar. Some things we are clear on we don't want to do again, right? So we joined a committee, we supported a cause that didn't turn out how we thought. Looking at that and kind of making a note, both real or mental, that we don't want to have that in our life anymore. So we want to release that is very, very helpful. It is critical to look at those things because you can't get that time back. And when we're looking forward to the new year and the upcoming year, we want to focus on what we want more of. And in order to get more, we have to have more time to do that, thereby leaving some things behind. So, what we get to do now is release those things that are within our control. Release those things that we don't want to do again, that took up time and energy, that caused us stress and worry. The things which are commitments, meetings, maybe even some relationships that we choose to leave behind in the prior year. The act of releasing these things can be done in a number of ways. I'm a ritual ceremony girl to the very end, so I love to write them down and burn them. You can do that, or as long as you do that safely, or you can shred them or find another way to let them go. And it's important to let them go. So take them out with the trash, throw them away, burn them, make sure that they are gone from your physical environment. And this provides us with a metaphorical clean slate by reinforcing the things that we do not want back into our new year. And we don't need them. And we really want to create the opportunity and the space for the magic, for the opportunities and gifts that we don't even know about yet. we want them to come in, and they need space to do that. So that moves us into our third R, which is reconnection. And this is really about doubling down on how we want to spend our time and what we want to experience more of in the upcoming year, how we want to connect with our real selves, how we want to spend time reconnecting to those things that brought us joy, expansion, and growth, like reconnecting to a joyful trip you had, whether it was to the coast, to the trees, a drive somewhere, or a successful client or business experience that you had, whether it was a client session, a group session, a project you were leading at work, or it was the time spent with your family or friends. All of those things and more are things that you can look at when you choose to bring things forward into your new year. The gift of the pictures are incredible. As I said before, we have the picture in our hearts, and the physical picture connects us to that. It really reconnects us to that. And being able to do that at any moment, again, such a gift. We want to reconnect with those moments and feel them in a visceral way. I encourage myself and my clients to keep notes on calendars, journals, notebooks, also to help them remember a particularly impactful situation that you want to bring forward into the new year. It's a documentation of some success or some experience that you don't want to lose sight of. I want to make sure that it's easy for all of us to reconnect to those things, because the reconnection point in our hearts, in our minds, and in our souls is where we start to move into creating the vision for our current year, our new year. And when I'm working personally with myself or facilitating creation of a vision for a new year, this is where I do vision boards. Because if we start with those feelings that we want more of in life, and the desires that we want more of, it is from that feeling point that we build our most impactful vision boards, and we create the biggest, most awesome visions for ourselves. And it's also a lot of fun. So, our fourth and final R is rise. And to me, that is carrying forward the energy of the previous three R's. We've reflected, we've released, and we reconnected, all of which have helped us stay centered and connected to our realist selves and are the groundwork for this fourth R, which is to rise. We step into the new year centered in the real versions of ourselves, and we rise up to the occasion of starting something new this next year of our lives. So it is the new year, real us, that we're taking into the new year. We're taking our unique gifts and our talents that we may have rediscovered or remembered during this process. We take all of the magic that we have collected and retained and reclaimed through this process, and we rise up. We rise up to support ourselves, our businesses, our families, our communities, and we enter this new year with the incredible feeling of expansion, the incredible connection to the feelings of joy, love, the incredible feeling of impact, and mostly the feeling of deep, deep connection to our true and real selves, as well as others that we connect with. There is nothing quite like it. It is such an expansive feeling. And the reflection, the releasing, reconnection, and whatever way that you choose to bring this into the new year, whether it's a vision board or however you choose to do that, it is so, so critical and so fun. And it reconnects us with that feeling anytime we look at the vision board, we review our notes, however we choose to document it. So I really wanted to share that with you because it's something that we can all share. It's something that we can do fairly easily. And it's something that will change the way that you look at your new year and at yourself. And we always want to rise up, right? So that's what I really wanted to share with you today. A bit of my angel message is at the high level as the headline, interwoven through the steps that I've shared with you through the New Year Real You process as I facilitate it. Most practically, thus far, we've done step by step kind of work. And so I want to leave you with a few mystical moments before we end the episode today. So, a few things that I do on the regular, usually, that I encourage everyone to do is first one is to sit in silence. And I know that sounds like torture to some people because it is hard for many folks. So, I encourage you to even start with 1 or 2 minutes at a time and build on it. But in the silence, listen to your heart, listen to yourself, and listen to your intuition. We all have one. And it's in that quiet space with ourselves that it really, really opens up and expresses itself. The next is to ask for guidance and be open to receive it. So, whether you look at spirit or source or your soul to ask for guidance, doesn't matter. Be open to receive it and know that it most of the time does not come in the ways that we expect it. If we could just get like an email or a note that says, this is what you do, these are the next steps, wouldn't that be perfect? Never is it like that in my experience. Oftentimes, the guidance will come and you'll know it because you'll feel it, you'll recognize it in the words of a song, in the words of a book, and the messages that you get on a movie or on a show that you're watching, or sometimes it's a literal sign or something that you see when you're driving around. So pay attention and know that it will come, and it won't usually be like you expected it to be. So the other one of the other things that I do is release as a part of your routine. I do it monthly. Full moons are a great time to do any kind of releasing activity. So I encourage that too. It allows you to shed what no longer serves you on a more regular basis, and it's a little bit freeing. And I do like to burn things, so there is that. Also, stay in your highest vibration. This is the last tip for today, but it is, I think, by far one of the most important for sure. So stay in your highest vibration. What does that mean? It means, you can feel when you're in your high vibration. Your energy is good. You feel good. You feel infused with um, positivity and true positivity and connection and joy. Use tools to do this. It is not something that comes easily, and that's not something we can do every single day consistently unless we have these tools. So catch your negative thoughts, because that is the number one thing, is those negative thoughts that lead to feelings that pull us right down. So catch them and reset them, whether you do it, in your mind with words or pictures. For me, I'm very visual. So I will get up and move around or shift wherever I'm at, and I will put a picture of somewhere that I love being, something that brings me joy. And it helps to reset that negative thought pattern. Reset and redirect these negative thoughts. Another way to do it is listen to high frequency music. It is very easy to get. If you don't know, if you haven't done that already, you can look on any music player, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and search for high frequency music. And there are all different frequency levels, and depending on where you are, you can choose one and listen to them accordingly. AirPods or earbuds are very, very impactful in this. If not, just general listening is great too. Also, visualization. Visualizing yourself feeling that high vibe. Visualize yourself feeling great and carrying that full energy and being out in the world. So those are a few little mystical tips that I find helpful, and I practice these regularly. It is critical to keeping my vibration high and maintaining the level of energy I want to bring out into the world and share with you. So thank you for listening. This is my first episode after my welcome episode, and I'm feeling so grateful, so inspired. And like I said in my welcome episode, it feels very surreal to be bringing this to life. I truly, truly want to make a positive impact, and I want to support and serve you in your day to day life in connecting you with your most empowered and unique self. The world needs all of us right now, bringing our unique gifts and brands of magic out to play. We need it now more than ever. Thank you so much for listening today. My episodes drop every other Monday. My next one will be January 27th. If you liked the practical steps today, if you liked the mystical steps today, if you want to learn more and go more deeply into my New Year Real You 4 R's process, join me on January 30th at a free virtual workshop. It's called Rise in 2025. And Rise in 2025 supports my New Year Real You mantra by helping you lose the chaos and confusion you might feel around starting the new year and provides you with clarity and positive energy to set you up for your best year yet. We'll deep dive into each of the 4 R's with activities and more and have some fun together. January 30th at 10 Pacific time, and there's a link below to register for your free seat. I look forward to seeing you if you come and join us. And if not, I will see you in our next episode. And I'm really, really look forward to that. As always, I end our time together by sending you so much love.